Welcome everyone to Wrasslin Raw!
All right, you're listening to Wrasslin Raw, the podcast that takes you back to when the new generation took over the WWF. Thank you for joining us. You're here with Rhino Rico.
Yummy, 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 I got toe jam in my tummy.
Oh, God. I just want to fucking slap you. Joe Giammatteo.
Bartlett, you were right when you said you had baby's breath prior to the Kiss My Foot match.
Oh,
Maybe
God.
baby Huey.
Fucking slap you, too. I'm the one and only Jason Bartlett. We're going to examine WWE history one episode of Raw at a time. But first, a special shout out to our listeners in New Jersey. It's been reported to me here that we've got some serious action going on in Jersey.
Hey, forget about it.
Very good to have yous guys out there. In this episode of Wrasslin Raw, we're going to be talking about the Raw that aired on July 3rd, 1995. This Raw was recorded at the Danville High School in Danville, Pennsylvania, and features Vince McMahon and Jerry the King Lawler on commentary. Are you guys ready?
I am ready.
Ready.
All right, then, let's get into it. Last week, Caribbean legend Savio Vega wrestled a record-setting 4 times in one night, then wrestled Double J Jeff Jarrett for the Intercontinental title the very next night. But piss on that. This is all about Shawn Michaels and how it all affected him. We're going to see the rest of that confrontation that got started at the end of Raw last week. Remember how it kind of shut off at the beginning of a conflagration between Double J and Shawn Michaels? In addition to this, tonight we are also going to have Sid versus Bam Bam Bigelow. Will Sid chicken out? If so, we hope you like your chicken crispy. This is naturally the best segue to a Sid promo. Sid was unnaturally subdued in this promo. It just didn't really fit him. But then we go over to Bam Bam, and Bam Bam lights off his little fist gimmick in this response promo.
His little Roman candle.
Yeah. These promos were almost done in, like, profile view. The competitors weren't looking at us or the cameras at all. They were looking about, 4 feet to our left. And this is where we get... Well, folks, Jerry Lawler is back, and he's here chugging mouthwash. As in, swallowing, chugging mouthwash.
It was probably blue Gatorade dumped into a scope container.
At the very least, it was a nice ad for Scope.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it looked like Windex personally, but good news, everybody. Do that in the Farnsworth voice. Good news, everybody. We're going to talk about that Kiss My Foot match later, just in case you were jonesing.
That's got to be it, though. There's going to be no more talk of this foot match, right?
Probably not. I mean,
yeah, that just makes sense.
If history has taught us anything, it's that we don't beat stupid shit into the ground around here. We're also going to visit Dr. Isaac Yankum's office later. But first, we're going to go into our first match of the night. The 1-2-3 Kid defeats Mike Bell by pinfall in 2 minutes and 40 seconds. I thought it was really good to see the 1-2-3 Kid back, and the crowd seemed to agree with me on that one. They were popping their asses off for the Kid. And unfortunately here at the beginning is where we're going to have a whole bunch of mouth talk.
What? I thought it was done.
It really feels like we just can't fucking win with this. Like, when you think it's over, it's not. The 1-2-3 Kid looking great in this match, and honestly, so is Mike Bell. I didn't really come away with anything negative to say about this, but then is when the singing starts. Vince singing about toe jam in his tummy, and the way that Ryan did it there in our intro, all high-pitched, that's exactly how Vince did it.
I just want to point out, that may be the only time I've ever heard Vince do a sound effect or get into a character, which is why it really stood out to me.
Yeah, same here. I was trying to think The only other time that I could think of is whenever they had Rob Bartlett doing Elvis that one episode. Did he like do a couple Elvis impersonations with him?
Maybe. But yeah, I don't remember him doing anything but the standard Vince voice.
Yeah, I couldn't think of anything really either. Well, the 1, 2, 3 Kid, he ends up finishing this match with a pretty nice roll-up. And if we're ignoring the commentary, this was a pretty strong start to the episode. Joe, what did you think about the return of the 1, 2, 3 Kid here?
Before the match, we got some, even though they're cutting costs at the WWF, we got some pyro to start the show off. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
You're talking about Bam Bam.
No, not his Roman candle. Kind of reminded me of the Attitude Era days where they just start off with the huge pyro. But I was genuinely excited to see the 1, 2, 3 Kid. What a great start to this episode, because we haven't seen him in quite a long time. And I mean, I didn't know he was going to be on. I don't think it was teased last week or anything, was it?
Nope.
No,
so
yeah, I remember.
Pretty excited to see him again. Mike Bell, his gear kind of reminded me of like the old swimsuits that you'd see on like the Three Stooges or something. It had like the stripes.
Yeah.
But he looked okay. I mean, Mike Bell has always looked pretty decent. I guess that's why he had such a long jobber career. So 1, 2, 3 Kid looks like he's back in form, and the crowd was excited to see him. So yeah, I thought the match was okay, but Bartlett, like you said, it was kind of ruined by some of the commentary.
I'm in complete agreement here. This match was a very good match if you can ignore the commentary about Toe Jam, because us, just like the crowd, just ecstatic to have the 1, 2, 3 Kid back. As they mentioned a few times here, you know, he broke his neck, so he's been gone a little while at this point, and it was really great to see him back. And as you both have already mentioned as well, Mike Bell does a good job of putting him over here. I did have to point out, Mike Bell has a new haircut, and it really, really reminded me of Rod Van Dam. He has the pulled back ponytail with shaved sides. I mean, it's just Rob Van Dam 100%, the haircut. But Mike Bell did a really good job. There was really only one hit where Mike kind of telegraphed it a little too early and it looked bad. But outside of that, great selling and just great high-flying stuff out of the Kid. There were two kind of unique things that we've never seen out of the Kid tonight. There was one where Mike kind of like threw him in the air and the Kid did a 360 in midair and kicked him. Do you remember that? That was kind of, I mean, I don't even know what the hell you would call it. It was just, it looked like a video game move.
It was almost like an assisted standing drop kick kind of.
Yeah. And then later on, it was actually just a couple seconds after that, Mike Bell got knocked to outside the ring, and then he jumps off the ropes onto the outside and almost looks like his Bronco Buster that he does later on, where he got his legs up around the guy's head, you know, and rode him to the ground. So we've seen some new stuff out of the Kid, not to mention just how great it was to see him back in the ring. So, I agree. If we could ignore Vince and the King talking about feet here, exciting match.
Yeah, very, very happy to see the 1, 2, 3 Kid back in action. It's no secret that he's a favorite of mine. He was a favorite of mine back whenever I was a kid. Favorite of mine now. It's exciting to watch him here as an adult, too. So, absolutely, very happy to see him. Who I was not happy to see was our next segment, Todd Pettingzoo, with an In Your House report. The second WWF In Your House is only 3 weeks away. And we're still using the picture of the first house in the promo material here. They need to Photoshop in a picture of a little kid in the window. What was that kid's name? Sam Marzetti or some shit like that?
I don't think that was it at all, though.
He owns the salad dressing company. I think it was Matt something. Matt Persetti
Pompicelli.
Pompicelli. There you go.
It. Yeah, Sam Marzetti.
Yeah, right on.
Sounds close enough. Well, at In Your House 2, there will be 3 title matches in this pay-per-view. So far, we have Diesel versus Sid in a lumberjack match for the WWF Championship. It's got to be a gimmick match, you know? And I gotta say, a lumberjack match is not as bad as a Kiss My Foot match, but why can't we just have a regular, good old-fashioned fucking knockdown, drag-out championship match?
Well, because the story they're pushing right now is that Sid will walk away if that happens.
I get that, and I get the story.
Yeah, and we saw it already, and it didn't work out too well. The gimmick should be, who will have a broken neck after a power bomb?
Oh, God.
We'll talk about that later.
10 of the Lumberjacks have already been signed, and this is going to be a big deal, apparently. We're going to keep getting updates on who the Lumberjacks are. There are 30 Lumberjacks, so I imagine it's probably going to just be the entire fucking locker room. It's kind of
everyone
safe to say.
not involved in Your House 2 is going to be a Lumberjack.
Pretty much.
You guys both popped when you saw Jacob Blue on there.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, so far it's 5 heels and 5 baby faces. I'm not going to list them here, but I do have to note that the picture they put up of Jacob and Eli Blue both clearly highlight the SS tattoos that they got covered up, but not quite covered up enough. They're standing there with their arms crossed trying to put out a tough pose, but all it does is accentuate the SS on each of their arms.
I'm assuming they're the heel.
One would hope.
In real life and in wrestling.
Yeah.
Todd is going to take us over to that altercation between Double J and Shawn Michaels now that happened last week. And it was more entertaining, this altercation, than half of what we saw in the entire episode last week. So glad we missed that, I guess. We can save it to spruce up Petting Zoo here. As a result of all of this, there is going to be an Intercontinental Championship match between Shawn Michaels and Double J Jeff Jarrett. And I'm kind of up on that. That has the potential to be a great match. That will also be the live singing debut of Double J Jeff Jarrett, so I look forward to having that story continue on as well. Also on the match card, the 1-2-3 Kid versus the Roadie. Again, that sounds like it has some potential. Some future teammates there getting to go at it here. I think that's going to be a good time. And here's where it all goes to shit. For some goddamn reason, the Allied Powers, Lex Luger and the British Bulldog, have earned a chance at the tag titles, currently held by Owen Hart and Yokozuna. Even Petting Zoo knows this is bullshit because he quickly moves on past it and doesn't say anything other than what the match is and who's in it. We will cut to commercial, and Petting Zoo promises that when we come back, we'll get to see Double J's music video debut. But before we move to that, though, just briefly, Joe, what did you think about our first In Your House 2 report?
Well, I thought the rundown of all the Lumberjacks was sort of a cheap way to kind of sell, like, if you buy a ticket to this event, you'll see this guy and this guy and this guy. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, good point.
It was just, kind of like they do with the Royal Rumble, how they list every single person in it before it happens.
Murdoch.
Yeah.
Dickie Murdoch.
Yeah. Big Dick Murdoch. The Jeff Jarrett, Shawn Michaels thing, I mean, that's exciting. They showed us some of that footage, too, that we didn't see, so that was nice. I didn't understand why Jeff Jarrett was the one saying, I want a title match, but
yeah.
I think it's definitely something to look forward to on the In Your House, too.
Going into this report, I was much less enthusiastic about In Your House 2, but learning that we're going to have at least 2 good matches. Shawn Michaels versus Double J, how could you not look forward to that one? And then 1-2-3 Kid and the Roadie, a little DX preview here. How could you not look forward to that? So they started off with this lumberjack match that I'm less than enthused about, and they finished it with the Allied Powers for the tag team belts versus Owen Hart and Yoko, which I'm really down on. But those 2 matches are giving me a little bit of hope, so I'm looking forward to them.
Yeah, completely agreed. That has the makings for at least a couple of good matches that hopefully can carry the rest of this shit show. We'll see, in the end, if it's really that good. But the one thing that I was kind of surprised neither of you mentioned, so I'll bring it up here. During the altercation between Double J, Jeff Jarrett, and Shawn Michaels, when Double J just flings the belt at Shawn Michaels and smacks him in the shoulder and the side of the head with it. Thought that was pretty cool. I didn't know if they planned that ahead of time, but that kind of got me on the edge of my seat and a little more excited. So, speaking of excited, though, back at ringside, The King is really putting over Double J here. And of course, it gets ruined by Vince remarking on the King's bad breath. This is going to be the pattern here. No matter what they're talking about, one of the two of them is going to find a way to shoehorn mouth talk back into this. Thankfully, that doesn't last long, however. We cut to Double J Jeff Jarrett's music video for his new single, With My Baby Tonight. It is very 90s. But... and I'm not sure if either of you listened to any country music back in the mid-90s, did you?
I did not, and I continue to not really listen to much country, I'll admit.
I mean, growing up where we did, you kind of couldn't avoid it.
Well, you couldn't avoid it, but I mean, I was a metalhead. Secondhand, yeah. Sure.
Well, I mean, I was a metalhead as well, but I also grew up on a good chunk of early 90s and late 80s country music, and specifically at my dad's house, he would always have the cable channel CMT, which was the country version of VH1 or MTV back then. And I gotta say, when compared against normal contemporary country music videos from the mid-90s, this was really well done. You would not have been able to tell that this was a WWF music video at all. This looked spot on with the contemporaries there. As far as the video goes, I would have loved to plow through every one of those backup singers.
Oh my God.
But I digress. Something's off about Double J's voice. I never would have guessed that it sounded quite like that. Wink, wink.
Do you think there might be someone else that we already know whose voice it might be?
Milli Vanilli.
Yeah.
It might be Dr. Isaac Yankem.
I've mentioned before that I remember this storyline very clearly, and maybe it's just hindsight, but I don't remember this so clearly telegraphing where we're headed. I don't know if it's just because I know what's up now.
I think it's a little bit of us knowing.
Yeah, but I mean, this was clearly telegraphing what's going on. Ryan, what did you think of Double J's music video debut here?
You know, it's funny. I'm not going to have a ton of new stuff to add because my note was pretty much exactly what you said. It reminded me of any time I accidentally fell upon the country music channel back in the 90s. I mean, it was spot on. It looked exactly like it. So hell of a job, WWF, in the production value of this because they got it spot on. The only thing I got a chuckle out of at the end of the video, where they typically give the information rundown at the end, like the artist and the name of the song.
Yeah.
I love that the name of the CD is Ain't I Great?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually noted, Bartlett, pretty much the same exact thing as you, that this is right on par with every 90s country video, pretty much. And
yeah,
you're right, you wouldn't be able to tell. The production of the video was great. I do have noted, though, they should have had MMR playing guitar on the video.
Oh, my God.
I'm assuming Jimmy Hart wrote this song, maybe? Or no, Jimmy Hart was probably gone by this point.
Yeah, he was gone by this point, yeah.
The song is so bad. I mean, it just has some of the worst phrasing I've ever heard. It's just like talking during some parts, you know, it's just...
So country.
Yeah. I mean, it's just... It has like a...
I don't want to offend any fans out there. I'm sorry.
It has like a decent melody during the first part, but then there's like other parts where it's just like just like one straight monotone weird phrasing. So
you're saying that this was the birth of mumble rap?
Could have been, yeah. This is it. Fucking groundbreaking. July 3rd, 1995. But yeah, it's like what are those guys like? Travis Tritt, you know, those guys, like it's just just like their fucking videos, exactly the same.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, completely agreed. This was good though. I mean, as crappy as the actual music was, this whole thing. This is why I loved this as a kid and still love it today, because man, they put some effort into this storyline and it pays off and it shows, you know. Well, we'll come back from the music video and go straight into our next match. Bob Holly defeats the Brooklyn Brawler by pinfall in 2 minutes and 30 seconds. There's more mouth talk and foot talk. This is really dragging me down all over again. We can't get past it. It was just relentless.
I wonder if this is like an after effect that we're doing this one show in Pennsylvania the day after.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're going to hear for almost 4 weeks this foot talk, but to them, it feels like it was just the next day.
I tend to agree with that.
You'd think we'll probably get some green screen too, though, for later.
I was wondering that, but, here we are.
God, hopefully it slows down.
I didn't think we did in Struthers, though. I think Struthers was 4 episodes of live commentary.
Green screen costs money, pal.
That's right.
Oh, boy.
Don't have the editing budget anymore.
So does Scope mouthwash.
Yeah. Well, in the match here, I noticed right off the bat, the Brawler is a little slower than Holly. Just enough for me to notice, but not enough to drag down the match. I mean, this is a 2-minute and 30-second jobber squash match, so you can't really expect much out of it. But once they get their pace, and they do figure it out relatively quickly, the match, it's highly serviceable. Ryan, that's one of the words that you use a lot, and I've come to really appreciate its meaning in the context of wrestling. This was a highly serviceable match. And that's really the best and only thing I can say about it. There was nothing that stood out as good or bad here, but honestly, it was a good way to spend 2.5 minutes. So, Ryan, what did you think of this match?
I would agree. Outside of the foot talk continuing.
Right.
Artie Lang, he started out looking, like you said, just a little bit off, but it wasn't long at all before they found their timing. Out of Holly, we got another great-looking Hurricanrana off the top rope. That seems to be something new he's added to his repertoire, and I like it. I mean, that's exciting because it's not a move we see very often here in 1995. You took the words out of my mouth, serviceable. This is a match that it's nothing fantastic, but it did exactly what it's supposed to do. It entertained the crowd for a good amount of time. It wasn't slow. It wasn't boring. It's nothing that a kid's going to grow up and tell his kids about here. But it did its job, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a perfectly good jobber match.
Yeah, I don't have much to add about the match itself, but I just have noted that the Brooklyn Brawler is just such a great fucking gimmick. It's just, it's got to be it is the best jobber gimmick of all time. I mean, it's
I can't think of a better one.
Yeah. Just the presence of the Brawler. I mean, it just brings me back to the days I was watching Superstars on Saturday mornings, and you'd see him every Saturday.
You catch someone our age that watched wrestling and everyone knows who the Brooklyn Brawler is.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah. But not everybody knows who Abe Knuckleball Schwartz is.
No.
And that's a travesty.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, well. But yeah, I completely agree. Brooklyn Brawler, the more we go back and the more we watch these episodes, I'm really glad that he's there. It's like a sense of security that he brings with him. Like, we see the Brooklyn Brawler in a match. We know that if this match goes to shit, it's not going to be the jobber's fault.
Old reliable.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, he's not going to be like overselling anything or doing anything crazy. He's just going to go out there and get beat in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look like a slob.
Yeah.
And like we already said here, the timing was off just a touch at the very beginning, but he adjusted.
Yeah, because he's a professional.
Yes.
Yeah.
Consummate professional.
Looks like a guy who has a severe gambling problem.
You have to imagine, a match like this, these two guys did not have any run through. They didn't have, where they were telling their spots to each other. They were calling this on the go. So
call it in the ring.
Yeah, they're calling in the ring for something like this. So yeah, it took them a couple minutes to adjust, but way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, next week on Raw, we'll have what promises to be a real barn burner of a match. King Kong Bundy and Tatanka will take on the Allied Powers, Lex Luger and the British Bulldog.
Or will he?
Or will he? The only thing that I have to say about that is that I continue to feel really, really bad for the Bulldog. I feel so bad. Like, I love the British Bulldog. He's a great wrestler, just great all around. And God, this is the kind of shit that he has to do right now. Well, we come back from commercial. Vince is here with old slop breath. Motherfucker. Speaking of slop, let's see what happened on Superstars this past Saturday. We get footage of Henry Godwinn Oh, man, mixing up a bucket of slop and then drinking it.
I love that he took a sip.
It was fucking disgusting. I hated that he took a sip. Hated it. Hated it! And then footage from Henry Godwin's match against Adam Bomb. I got a clear picture here of how crappy Adam Bomb's movements look against Henry Godwin's. It was just such a stark difference between the two. As much as I may disagree with some of the choices that they're making with Henry Godwin and his gimmick here, he is a good wrestler. Both competitors in that match ended up counted out, but to add insult to injury, Godwin dumped the slop bucket on Adam Bomb while Adam Bomb was laid out on the outside.
Treating him like the piece of garbage he is.
Yeah. So, Joseph, are you excited about that Allied Powers Corporation match next week? And were you as surprised as I was to see Adam Bomb somewhere other than the center of the ring?
Well, like you, I wish the British Bulldog was just having a singles match next week.
Yeah.
And as far as Adam Bomb goes, I mean, it's the end. It's the end, brother. We already saw him get squashed by Mabel a couple months ago, and now he's getting the slop. This is what I remember from Henry Godwin, the slopping. So it's great to see that for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have very much to say about the tag team match. I mean, come on. Tatanka, King Kong Bundy, Lex Luger, and the British Bulldog. Yeah, something doesn't fit there. And that's a good wrestler. The Godwin thing with Adam Bomb, I loved that he took a sip of that. That was just that really put it over in not a way that,
oh my God,
in not a way that the constant foot talk does. If he wouldn't have taken a sip, I don't know, it just added to it. It was special. So I loved it. And I like seeing Godwin in, like you said, in the role I kind of remember as a child.
Yeah, I can't do the sipping of the slop. I can't get behind that.
See, that's something I would have done if I was him.
Ugh, that's so fucking gross. To me, that's on par with the mouth and foot stuff. It's just stupid toilet humor.
If you were asked to do that, you would stroke your Fu Manchu for a few seconds and say, that doesn't work for me, brother.
It does not work for me, brother.
Where, on the other hand, I would suggest it. I'd say, should I maybe take a sip of this? You know, kind of.
What do you think of that, brother?
Fucking gross. But one thing that we can agree on here is that it was very good to see Adam Bomb get doused with shit.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I think we're all in agreement in there.
It's over.
Yeah. Just laying there getting slop poured all over him. Next we need Duke the Dumpster to come in and drag Adam Bomb off and toss him in a dumpster.
We haven't seen Duke in a while.
Oh, we will. He'll be, not to get ahead
one of the
ourselves
lumberjacks.
And be a spoiler, but he's going to be a lumberjack.
That's not much of a spoiler.
Yeah.
He wasn't showing up for any of the other matches, that's sure as hell.
Well, now I will definitely be paying $14.99.
Well, now that we see how Henry Godwin has been treating the competition on Superstars, let's go to our next match. Henry Godwin defeats Barry Horowitz by pinfall in 2 minutes and 15 seconds. To start the match, there's a big pat on the back from Barry Horowitz to himself, and then a lightning quick motion from Horowitz to start circling his opponent. I was genuinely surprised at how fast and light on his feet Barry Horowitz was in the opening stages of this match here. And then we get a great show of power from Godwin, tossing Horowitz across the ring. The match continued with excellent work by both competitors, Horowitz playing up the speed and technicality, Godwin playing up the power and stamina. One thing that I noted as being especially kind of was that knee drop that Godwin put down onto Horowitz from the corner. That looked scary as hell. Kudos to Barry Horowitz for being such a professional. I'm not sure I could lay there and take that. That was just terrifying for me to watch personally. The crowd sounded like they were behind Horowitz for a lot of this match, and I was too, but I was genuinely entertained by the action in the ring from both competitors. I do have to note here also, I've been getting more and more annoyed by Vince calling victory on 2 counts. This is something that's been getting worse and worse and worse as time goes on. But then at the end of this match, Vince calls a fucking 2 count kick out on the pinfall victory. It's like, I don't know what to say about that. No matter what, he gets it wrong.
He was too used to calling the kick out.
Yeah. Just so stupid and annoying. Just how about you just don't call it at all, unless you actually see that it's going to happen. Or maybe if you're the owner of the company, you'll know about when the time is up for the match and you know it's going to be the correct finish.
I mean, it's all right to use sometimes, to sell the close pin, but
this is almost every
it is.
Match.
It's not just every match, every 2 count. Every 2 count.
Yes, but we're getting a tad bit ahead of ourselves here. Joe, please, what did you think of this match?
I don't have much noted on this match. I mean, I definitely don't have much noted outside of what you already said, Bartlett, with the recap there. And the other thing is the stuff that happens after was just so disappointing for me that I just kind of, I don't know, I was kind of sick. I think I had some ptomaine poison.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I mean, this is... I agree with you, Bartlett. This was just really good showing from 2 good ring workers. Quick technical wrestler versus the powerhouse. And I thought both guys did a good job of playing it off. Towards the beginning, Godwin, you said, throws him into the corner. And I really liked the arm blows that he was throwing onto Horowitz. They looked very realistic and powerful and painful. It looked good. And I was gushing when the crowd was hollering Barry's name. And I love that Vince even mentioned it. He brought up that unquestionably he's the fan favorite. That's just great. It's great. He's the fan favorite and Wrasslin Raw's favorite. I love Barry Horowitz. And because of that, Vince acknowledging the crowd cheering for him, I have to believe that we are very close to Horowitz's push.
Horowitz has us coming day and night.
Gushing.
Yeah, gushing. Gushing. My God. Ryan was sitting in a panty puddle over there. Good Lord.
He's a gusher.
Yeah, this was an excellent, excellent match. Nothing negative to say about it. I mean, God, but that knee drop from the corner, terrifying. Especially as big of a man as Henry Godwin is.
Just
Jesus
terrifying
Christ.
As a later on powerbomb?
Well, first, we're going to kick it over to Barry fucking Dudensky. The fans he's got there with him don't look very excited, or at least the girl modeling the Shawn Michaels all-over shirt looked a tad uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Barry might be a creeper, we don't know. Barry's wearing that bitchin' Bam Bam Bigelow shirt. I want one of those for Christmas. And now I know what I'm getting Ryan for Christmas. The Adam Bomb shirt was terrible.
With the football.
Fucking terrible.
As is everything he does.
Just like its namesake. But it does come with a Bomb Squad football. See, that's the thing, is you've been looking for the Bomb Squad football online. What you need to be looking for is this Adam Bomb shirt because it comes with the football.
Well, I have a feeling that people might not be giving away together as a package like the WWF.
No, it's going to come as a package. It's also going to come with an 8x10 of Adam Bomb getting slopped.
Well, it's true. No one ever opened the package, so they're still
that's the
packaged together. Yeah,
it'll be delivered to your house on Christmas.
There were tens and tens of little kids that received Adam Bomb packages for Christmas back in '95.
Not a single one was opened.
They're like the E.T. Atari game. They're going to find that they were buried somewhere.
Buried in the Arizona
dig
desert.
them up. Yeah.
Once again, the King and Vince were talking over half of what Barry Dudensky was saying, and when they weren't, the audio from Barry was so low that I couldn't really hear him anyway. I don't know what's going on with this. Why are they putting him on TV if they're not going to let him talk or mic him properly? Just, some notes for Vince, I guess, on that one, if we can reach back in time like we have so many times in the past here on Wrasslin Raw. We don't have any more time for Barry, however, as the music hits for our next match. Psycho Sid defeats Bam Bam Bigelow by pinfall in 5 minutes and 38 seconds. Sid is out first, absolutely dripping with baby oil, but everybody needs to keep in mind here, Henry Godwin is sticking around. And it's apparent that Ted DiBiase has been behind it all along as Henry Godwinn heads off Bam Bam in the entryway. This segment immediately follows the previous match. Henry Godwinn has not left the ring area, and it leads into this altercation. Altercation is maybe a bit too strong of a word, but Henry Godwinn is doing the bully thing, giving Bam Bam a hard time and blocking him from getting to the ring. Maybe I've been listening to too much Jim Cornette. It's possible. But it occurs to me that Bam Bam could just light Godwinn up with those gimmick fire fists. Like if he's really in his way.
That's kind of what I was thinking too. Why didn't he
just burn him to death?
Yeah. Which, by the way, boys, I know that you might not really know what I'm talking about or care, but these fire fists bring him like a whole lot closer to the Pokemon.
Yes. That's, I figured that's where you were going.
It's a fire type Pokemon, for Christ's sake. This is exactly what the fucking Pokemon does. Anyway.
I don't know what you're talking about. Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah, we'll edit that out.
Cut it out.
Well, Bam Bam and Henry start fighting in the entryway, and it really can't be safe to be brawling while wearing wrist rockets. Like, am I the only one that is seeing this? And, joking aside about using them to burn Henry Godwinn, I mean, this can't be safe.
Based on how he releases the pyrotechnics in the ring, it looks like it's just kind of like a string or something that he pulls that kind of lets them off. So, yeah, if it's just one little wrong movement and Henry Godwinn gets a Roman candle to the eye.
Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking about the safety. I've noted that his gear looks even more ridiculous when he's like fighting somebody with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Bam Bam eventually gets into the ring, and it's almost like he is giving up too. Because
it was someone who was in his ear like, whoa, get back in there and get your pyro in there.
You got to get those back shots off.
Bam Bam makes a gesture like he's farting, and the rocket backpack just kind of shoots off into the ring and breaks, and it drops some kind of cylinder there in the ring. Might have been a charged explosive, we don't know, but it's laying there. And then it kind of looks like the roof might be on fire, because there's ash raining down from the ceiling. It's enough that like you see it clearly in the camera.
Sid Jerry has King to blow it out of the way.
Yeah. There's fucking ash raining down from the Danville High School auditorium ceiling.
Asbestos.
Even though this match was twice as long as any other match we've got in this episode, it felt like there was no substance to it. As much as Vince kept making it seem like this was some personal cathartic experience for Bam Bam, I just wasn't feeling it. Sid was never the best worker to begin with, and Bam Bam seemed to be having a bit of a hard time working with him here. And on top of that, the camera work throughout this match was shitty. Horrible fucking camera work. And for the second time now, Bam Bam loses by climbing up on the corner and sitting there for too long, allowing Henry Godwinn to toss him off and allow Sid to get the pinfall. This is exactly what happened during the Bam Bam and Tatanka's tag team match, and it happened again here against Sid. The match doesn't end with the 3 count, however, because Sid is going to put Bam Bam through another one of those ugly fucking power bombs. Bam Bam landing on his right shoulder blade and just, oh my God, ugly. And yes, folks, it seems that due to the economic promise of hog futures, Henry Godwinn has joined the corporation. So, Joe, I thought you would probably be pretty happy about that now that we've got another body in the corporation. But first, Ryan, what did you think of this match and its aftermath?
I'm going to start off with what you just ended there because, oh great, they've ruined another good wrestler. I mean, Godwinn, we've been talking him up since his introduction a few months ago, or probably almost 6 months ago at this point. And here we go. He's joining the corporation to follow the footsteps of greats like Tatanka and King Kong Bundy. I mean, just why? Why can't Godwinn just stay on his own? The match was bad. Sid, as you said, isn't the best worker. Bam Bam is a really great worker, but he just, like you said, just couldn't get it together with Sid in the ring here. It doesn't look terrible. Bam Bam is his typical self, and he's able to pull off some decent looking things, but Sid just seems to keep on ruining any type of momentum this match catches on. And then what really ends the momentum is that we're going to have Henry Godwin get in the middle of this match because Ted DiBiase was behind it all along. And then we're going to end with yet another ugly, dangerous looking power bomb on Bam Bam. I was flinching, and this entire time, as I see his neck almost break from this power bomb, I'm thinking to myself, do they never learn? How many times does Sid have to almost break Bam Bam's neck before we decide to have a different finish for Sid to Bam Bam? This was a really disappointing match.
Yeah, this was disturbing for a few different reasons for me. Just with Bam Bam, the continued burial, the burial. This is something that doesn't get talked about.
No, it doesn't. It should be talked about a lot more, because this is a unacceptable burial of Bam Bam Bigelow.
I mean,
we talk about it every fucking week.
No, not us.
No,
I'm talking about
the
industry. The industry.
Among the wrestling community and all of the other stuff. It's like, holy shit. Watching it now, it's unbelievable. Yeah. They only care about this terrible pyro. That's all they care about with it. It's like, his entrance was a little bit different. So it's like, oh, wait, go back and do your pyro. Make sure you get that in, because nobody cares about anything else. It's a shame, because this crowd, this Danville crowd, Bam Bam had them into it. Even during this piece of shit match with Sid, the crowd was getting behind Bam Bam. Sid at one point was driving his own head into the turnbuckle. It was so bad. Yeah, I can't believe this continued burial of Bam Bam Bigelow.
I have to say it. I completely agree, Joe. You don't hear about it at all, but Bam Bam was such a big figure at that point, and a great wrestler, to just have his character and personality murdered at the hands of Vince McMahon, and it's never talked about.
And, they trusted in him enough to say, hey, this Lawrence Taylor's coming in and we want you to train him and have a match with him. And he did it. He made it happen. Yeah. But it's and this is his reward for that.
His reward was to be a cockholster.
Open up, big boy.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's true. It's damn true. And you're right. I apologize for laughing earlier, because we do talk about it quite a bit. But now that I get what you're saying, you're absolutely right. This really isn't talked about hardly at all. I've heard it kind of alluded to a couple times.
The only thing I've ever heard is I guess he had problems with the Click at one point. But you never hear about this. No. So it's crazy.
You know what, though? If you go and look up any one of the many shoot videos that Kevin Nash has done with Sean Oliver, there's at least one where they ask him point blank, did the Click have a problem with Bam Bam Bigelow? And Kevin Nash said, no, Bam Bam gave me great matches, so no, there wasn't any problem there.
No, I don't got any problem. So, Bam Bam put me over every chance he was forced to.
Gave me a nice warm hole to rest my cock in.
That's right. That cod piece was nice and warm.
Good God, we need to move on past this. But yeah, I completely agree. Terrible fucking match.
Let's talk about other superstars like the 1-2-3 Kid and Dink.
Yes. This past weekend, Connecticut hosted the Special Olympics. And everyone was there. Savio Vega, Aldo Montoya, the 1-2-3 Kid, the Allied Powers, Diesel, Dink, everybody. Everybody was at the Special Olympics. And we got some footage of Diesel speaking at the dinner. And joking aside, Diesel made some excellent points about the Special Olympics being about pure sport, because there's no endorsements or brand sponsorships involved. I thought that was a tremendously intelligent point to make there in front of that crowd.
But did any of them win with a broken freaking neck?
No. The answer is no.
I do agree, Bartlett, though. I thought his speech there was a very heartwarming, appropriate speech to give to this crowd.
Arguably, some of them have greater obstacles than a broken fucking neck.
Yeah, I'd say so. Out of all that shit we see with Diesel, yeah, this was actually good. You know,
yes.
Instead of fucking softball. Like, who cares about all that other shit?
Agreed. But let's not dwell on the Special Olympics too much, because we have now what we've been waiting for, our next match. Waylon Mercy defeats Jeff Hardy by submission in 2 minutes and 50 seconds, and Jeff Hardy is our Jobber of the Week. Take it, Ryan.
Thank you, Jason. Jeff Hardy is this week's jobber. Now, of course, everyone knows Jeff Hardy, and we've already covered his brother Matt, so I'm not going to go and repeat a bunch of overlapping information or bore you with a bunch of Jeff Hardy information that you're already aware of, so this might not be as long of a segment as you would expect. Jeff Hardy was born Jeffrey Nero Hardy on August 31st, 1977 in Cameron, North Carolina. Hardy has gone by the ring names Brother Nero, Gladiator, the Iceman, Willow the Wisp, Willow, Angus Jenks,
Oh my God.
Wolverine, Kenneth Davis, and Jeff Hardy.
Kenneth Davis?
Well, you'll get an explanation for that one.
Well, didn't we already see that?
You'll get an explanation for that one. Jeff trained under Dory Funk Jr. and Michael Hayes and made his in-ring debut on October 15th, 1993, wrestling for him and his brother's own Trampoline Wrestling Federation. His first WWF match was on June 24th, 1994, losing to Razor Ramon, wrestling under the name Keith Davis, which was the name of the original jobber Razor was supposed to face that night. But Davis backed out right before the match, and Jeff took Davis's place after Gary Sabaw suggested him to backstage management, after convincing management that he was 18 instead of the real age that he was of 16.
Oh.
And I'm sure everybody remembers from the Matt segment about Gary Sabaw's finder's fee that he requires out of the brothers. So that is the beginning of the Gary Sabaw pressing of the Hardy Boys. The following night, on the June 25th episode of WWF Superstars, Jeff would be allowed to wrestle under his real name, Jeff Hardy, and he would lose to the 1-2-3 Kid in just under 3 minutes. Jeff would continue to wrestle for the WWF as a jobber until late 97, with his last jobber match being a loss to Rob Van Dam during the ECW Invasion storyline. In 1998, Jeff and Matt would sign a deal with the WWF to move past their jobber roles and work as a tag team together as the Hardy Boys. The rest is kind of history at this point. Like I said, I'm not going to get bogged down into a bunch of information that most wrestling fans already know about Jeff Hardy from this point of his career on. But it's safe to say for the next 20 plus years, Jeff Hardy became an absolute megastar for the Federation. Jeff and his brother Matt helped solidify the Attitude Era, especially in the tag team division. Outside of being a 16-time tag team champ, 12 of them being with his brother Matt, Jeff has racked up an impressive list of single titles. He is a 3-time TNA World Heavyweight Champ, a 2-time WWE World Heavyweight Champ. He has held the WWE Championship once, also holding the WWE Intercontinental Championship 4 times, the Light Heavyweight, United States, and the European Championships all once. He has also held the Hardcore Championship 3 times, making him the 19th Triple Crown Champion and the 10th Grand Slam Champion in company history. Between WWE, TNA, and ROH, Hardy has won 26 total championships. Sadly, over the years, Jeff has suffered from some drug and alcohol problems. It even caused some issues with the WWE just last year. But in very poor taste, in my opinion, the WWE even worked his problems into storylines. So I thought that was a little ugly on their part. But despite these problems, Jeff has always found a way to prevail. And as of right now, Jeff can still be seen wrestling for the WWE, with his last match being just 4 days ago, as of the day of this recording, on WWE SmackDown, facing off against Lars Sullivan.
I guess greatest jobber of all time.
Yeah.
That Gary Sabaw stuff is some fucking creepy shit.
It really is. Like, I just...
I'm pretty sure extortion was the word you're looking for.
Extortion was the word I was looking for. Thank you.
Yeah. Just really terrible shit from old Gary. And, you know, honestly, I tend to agree with you on this one. Terrible shit about including personal demons in storylines. It wasn't good whenever they did it with, was it Hawk?
Yeah.
No, yeah, Animal was more in control. Hawk was the one that was a little more rough,
Yeah, they did it with Hawk, and WCW did it with Scott Hall. Yeah.
It never is a good look.
Very distasteful. Very distasteful. But yeah, Jeff Hardy, absolute legend and absolute professional, truly. Thank you, Ryan. Enlightening, as always. Back in the match, I couldn't tell if Waylon Mercy came out the entryway talking shit or not. The fans were like swiping at him like he was talking shit, but then Vince McMahon makes it a point of saying that his gimmick, without using the word gimmick, is that his modus operandi, his MO, is to be extremely polite and sociable to the fans and to the referee and to his opponent up until the bell rings, and then he becomes an absolute sociopath. So I guess, you know, that's mind-blowing to Vince in commentary on the outside there. He's infatuated with the fact that this is what this man does. As Waylon Mercy is coming down, Jeff Hardy is already in the ring waiting, and the match begins. Waylon Mercy, I thought he was working well. So was Jeff Hardy. I was impressed with how well Jeff was working at such a young age here.
I think, 17 at this point?
Yeah. Once again, foot talk. Fucking foot talk. Nobody on commentary is paying attention to the match, and it pissed me off. We get notified here officially that Henry Godwin is going to take King Kong Bundy's place in that tag match with the Allied Powers next week. It's going to be slightly less shitty now. They were just really balls deep in selling that dagger on Waylon Mercy's forehead as being a tattoo, but then it's visibly running with his sweat and running down his face. As I alluded to earlier, the finish here kind of confused me. Waylon Mercy puts a headlock on Jeff Hardy, and the ref immediately rings the bell. There's no mention of a submission or anything until the ring announcer in the background announces the result for the crowd. If you weren't paying attention to what the ring announcer was saying, you wouldn't have heard it, but it's part of the whole sociopath thing that he just locks in, and we get a great view of him looking like an absolute fucking whack job putting this chokehold on. But it's a chokehold. So there you go. Joseph, you've been really excited about this debut since we started seeing Waylon Mercy's promos a couple weeks ago. What did you think of this match?
I think what could have been. I mean, it's a shame that this was such a short run, because this is something that caught my attention, just like, you know, Triple H coming in, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, and some other big names that we're seeing, unlike guys like Mantar, and, you know, you could even throw like Kama in there. You know, it's just not.
Yeah.
This is different. Definitely the Max Cady from Cape Fear gimmick for sure. And yeah, the finisher is not great. I mean, it's just a chokehold while he makes insane faces. But, you know, the gimmick itself is, to me, it's like, you could say it was kind of ahead of its time, because there's a current superstar, Bray Wyatt, that basically stole this gimmick and uses it. Not so much now. He's kind of doing a different thing now, but he was using it for a while.
I think something different is a very good way to put it, because one of the first things that I have marked here is when he comes into the ring with his, you know, Vince pointed it out, his weird handshaking of his opponent and the ref. It's just, I don't know, it's something unique, you know, it's different, like you said. And once the match actually starts, both guys do a good job. I got to give Jeff Hardy a lot of credit here. I mean, we're talking about a 17 or 18-year-old kid here who looks better than some veterans like Mantar or Man Mountain Rock or Adam Bomb. I mean, we could list off a whole handful of actual WWF superstars that this 17-year-old looks better than.
Basically everybody that Todd Pettingzoo ran off
right.
Earlier.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's no surprise this guy's going to go on to be the star that he is. And Waylon Mercy, I have to agree, it's very sad that his time is going to be short because I enjoyed it. This was nothing fancy or flashy, but I got into the storytelling of Waylon Mercy. And yes, the finishing move was not fantastic. It was nothing special, but he looked so fucking crazy. Like, he sold it to me. The move didn't sell it to me, but he did. So I thought it was a good debut.
Yeah, so I just want to clarify. I liked the match, and you're absolutely right. Jeff Hardy worked better in this match than any one of the 30 lumberjacks could work in this match. But the thing that got me just a teensy bit down is not necessarily that it was a headlock as the finisher, but it was like boom, boom, headlock, ref calls it. There was no... They didn't milk that. They didn't do any kind of a drawdown of like him putting him to sleep, or it was just such an awkward timing to the finish. It wasn't the finish itself. It was the awkward timing to the finish.
I can understand that.
Yeah, I mean, I would, again, I've said it many times in the past, I am a submission guy. I love submission finishes. So I'm not exactly completely down on this. It's just... I can get behind a chokehold as a submission finish if we can really milk, the drama of slowly losing consciousness and fading out.
The ref didn't let it play out long enough.
Yeah,
Unless that's what they're going for, that this guy's such a crazed lunatic that it's like as soon as he gets that move on, just forget it.
But even still,
he immediately snaps your fucking neck.
A chokehold takes a couple seconds, but yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Well, I mean, I look forward to more matches in the future.
I mean, he still had it on. It's not like he let go after
and he looked psychotic.
Yeah.
He did.
Those eyes, the eyes.
He did look great while he was doing it, and he really looked pretty good for most of this match, too. I mean, there wasn't anything I could really criticize. It's just, like I said, awkward timing at the end. Well, that was the last match of the night, but we are not done with Raw quite yet. We have yet to visit the office of Isaac Yankem, DDS.
Don't forget the DDS.
Yes, DDS. The King is here in the waiting room, and he's yelling at some kid and his mother about Bret Hart. And at one point, the King infers that the kid is looking at pictures of naked indigenous people in the National Geographic magazine.
I'm guilty of that.
That was pretty funny. Aren't we all? Before he was the world's greatest dentist, he was the world's greatest wrestler. A yuck. I am never going to get tired of that line. The thing that I liked this promo. Don't get me wrong. I'm busting balls here with this gimmick bullshit, but I loved this promo. And the thing that I loved the most about this promo was that throughout the entire thing, they had the background waiting room elevator music playing just loud enough so that you could hear it, but not so loud that it overtook everybody else. It was perfect. It set the ambiance perfectly. And then at the end, we get our first full view of Isaac Yankem, and boy, is he a sight to see. Blonde curly hair that just looks weird on the rest of him. And we zoom in on Isaac Yankem's mouth, and it is ugly. That's irony, folks. That's Vince McMahon's version of irony.
Very subtle.
Yeah. Back at ringside next week on Raw, Savio Vega in action, as well as the Roadie in his own match. And don't forget the Allied Powers versus Tatanka and Henry Godwin. Stay with us. We're going to end this episode with clips of events that happened a few minutes ago, including a slow-mo replay of that ugly fucking powerbomb that probably broke Bam Bam Bigelow's elbow. He's going to need to go see Dr. James T. Andrews about that one. And we'll fade to black on Vince McMahon saying, "Bertha breath, Beagle breath." and a couple other things that are equally annoying. Ryan, what did you think about Isaac Yankum's office and the way that Raw ended?
Like you, I enjoyed this little promo at the end, but I do want to point out, I don't like to pick on children, but he was a very bad actor, this kid. Get him the fuck out of here. I don't ever want to see him again.
Great bowl cut, though.
Take him out back and shoot him.
Yeah, great bowl cut, but terrible actor.
He looked like the real nerdy kid from that movie Little Giants.
Oh, God,
the kid that the kid had like the runny nose.
But a worse actor. I got to highlight that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But when I got to see the sight of the big red machine, I was ecstatic. He really looked like a fucking monster here. They showed that shot of him and he just towered over everyone. So I'm pumped to see him. I mean, this wasn't very long. Isaac Yankum doesn't say very much, but man, does he look like a fucking monster.
Yeah, it's nice to get our first look at the Doctor, Isaac Yankum. I mean, yeah, he looks like a scary son of a bitch, but to me, it's just so cartoony, and it's like it's at least like 5 years too late, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
But, we're going to know what it becomes at some point. But I also wanted to point out that Jerry Lawler has been annoying the shit out of me for quite a long time now. But he was actually pretty funny on this.
Yeah.
Like this was actually...
This promo was pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. And I like how they did it last week with him at the office, but we didn't see the Doctor. And then this week we see him, and maybe next week we'll see him drilling somebody's mouth. I like that slow build up to it.
Joe and your dad.
Yeah. The Butcher.
Yeah, I agree on all of that. It was good to see this. This is the entertaining kind of promo, vignette, whatever you want to call it, that I like. What I did not like is that we couldn't just end it there. We had to go back to ringside and get Bertha Breath, Beagle Breath, and all of the other stupid shit that Vince has been saying the entire episode. So, yeah, and that's it. That ends the episode. So now we're going to take it on over to highlights and lowlights. Joe, why don't you go first?
Well, my highlight is the power bomb from Sid on...
Oh, my God.
Because you want to see Bam Bam die.
You sadist.
No, my highlight here is obviously that we get two, I guess you could call them a debut. Our first sight of Isaac Yankum and Waylon Mercy's first match, and Jeff Hardy as a jobber in this episode. Jobbers in general, Jeff Hardy, Brooklyn Brawler, Barry Horowitz. I mean, that's quite the lineup here. So solid episode of Raw overall, I thought. As far as a low light, I guess I'd go with the whole Henry Godwinn joining the corporation thing. It's just so disappointing.
I agree. This was a fairly strong Raw. And there were a few different highlights that I was really kind of fighting over, but I fell on the 1-2-3 Kid Mike Bell match. I just thought, everything was kind of clicking here, especially because we got the 1-2-3 Kid back. And not just getting him back, but we got some great ring work out of the 1-2-3 Kid, and the crowd just was ecstatic to have him back. So I felt the same energy the crowd was, and that was my highlight. My low light, as I just said 2 seconds ago, this was a pretty strong Raw, so there wasn't a bunch to really hate. We had a lot of strong jobber matches, as you alluded to, Joe. Some really great ones, really. So my low light, I'm kind of sad to say, I'm going to say the Bam Bam Sid match. I love Bam Bam, but this was just really, really disappointing, and it brought in Henry Godwinn joining the corporation, and there was just a lot of things about this match that made it the low light. It wasn't a terrible match, but since it was supposed to be the anchor match, secured the low light.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one there, Ryan. First, for my highlight, I'm going to go with the Henry Godwinn-Barry Horowitz match. I was thoroughly entertained by that match. I thought that was an excellent, excellent match. But honorable mention on highlight to the Double J Jeff Jarrett music video, because it wasn't wrestling, and since we had such a great match out of Henry Godwinn and Barry Horowitz, I had to go with that. But truly, honorable mention just for sheer production quality for that video. Low light, I'm going to explain it this way. So you know how whenever in a movie, there's the trope of you have like the character and something happens to the character and they go off the rails. They get into drugs, they get into alcohol, whatever. But, you know, the first half of the movie, they're all clean cut and everything. Sure. And then
before their redemption towards the end.
Yeah. Something happens and you see their car pull in all crooked in the parking spot and they kind of like fall out of the car and they've got sunglasses on and there's beer cans everywhere and they're stumbling around and it's like, oh, this is the scene where this guy is officially shitting the bed now. That's what's happening with Bam Bam Bigelow for me, and that's why this is my low light, the Bam Bam Bigelow situation. This shit that we got tonight, the fucking weird entrance, the lazy just don't barely give a shit about the pyro behavior in the ring, the shitty match. This is Bam Bam Bigelow pulling into the parking spot crookedly and falling out with beer cans and shit. This is, he's given up. It's done.
And I can't blame him.
Oh yeah, if I were in this position, I would want to, you know, drink my sorrows away as well. So I don't blame him in the least bit, but it's just visual confirmation that Bam Bam just kind of doesn't give a fuck anymore, and I can't blame him one bit. All right, and that's it. So, Joseph, do you have any contemporary wrestling news from on and around July 3rd, 1995 for us?
I have a very interesting piece of news today.
Excellent.
You know, we all grew up together. We are from Lawrence County, which is a very small county above Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It is also the home of Matt Osborne, which was the original Doink the Clown from Elwood City.
Yep. The true Doink.
We got to throw baseballs at him at the county fair to dunk him into a water tank.
Well, Ryan, I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yes!
Because... yes, I do remember the Doink tank being used at the county fair. The WWF has filed a lawsuit this past week against Matt Osborne, the original Doink the Clown. Titan Sports is asking a federal judge to order Osborne, who now lives in Elwood City, Pennsylvania, to stop using the Doink name and gimmick on independent shows.
Or county fairs.
Yes.
The Doink tank.
Titan Sports is asking a federal judge to order Osborne to stop using the Doink name and gimmick and to account for all monies he may have earned since leaving Titan using the gimmick.
Oh, jeez.
Joe, are you done with that segment or?
Sort of. Not quite, but yeah.
Are you done with Matt Osborne?
No.
Okay, continue.
No.
And then I have a personal story to add to all of this.
At this time, July 3rd, 95, Osborne had 2 recent arrests. You know, we know about his troubles with the law.
Yeah.
My story adds to that.
Titan Sports attorney Jerry McDevitt told the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, "This guy was arrested. People think, oh, that's Titan's character. Titan is very concerned about the image of its wrestlers. That's part of the reason you don't want people using your trademark, because it dilutes the meaning of your trademark." And now you can share your piece.
You guys may have heard this, but I am sure the fans have not.
Yeah.
So back in the early 2000s, this would have been about 2001, I used to work, this is while I was going to college, I did landscaping for my brother's landscaping company, and we did a lot of work in Elwood, Pennsylvania. And we were there for about a week. We were doing landscaping for a funeral home in Elwood, Pennsylvania. And after we got done with the job, we had a couple beers and we were just kind of bullshitting with the mortician that worked, the undertaker that worked at this funeral home. And he let us know that he also owned the house next door to the funeral home. And he said back in the 90s, mid to late 90s, it was occupied by one Matt Osborne. And during that time, he said he tried to evict him because he was continuing to not pay and was just generally a shithead. But then it came to a head when one night during a funeral at the guy's funeral home, Matt Osborne came over completely shit-faced in the middle of someone's family funeral and just making a scene. So he had to call the police, and he said the entire Elwood Police Department was there, like 7 of them, trying to hold him back as he just drunk rages, screaming and making a scene in the middle of someone's funeral. He was finally able to evict him after that incident.
Wow.
One can see the point that Jerry McDivitt was trying to make.
Yeah. I hope he didn't sign the funeral book as Doink the Clown.
Although that would have been great if he would have been drunk and interrupting the funeral in the full get-up.
Yeah.
The clown outfit. And
I don't believe it was, though, sadly.
Okay.
So there's that piece. Matt Osborne in some trouble with WWF. The last thing is the Head Shrinkers have been broken up. And a little bit of a spoiler that Fatu is getting a new gimmick with the same name, now being from San Francisco as a street gang type of guy, telling kids to stay in school and not use drugs.
All right. Well, that's a solid message.
Sure is. We'll see how that works out.
Yeah.
And that is all.
Stay off the drugs, kids, or else I'll show up and stick my ass in your face.
Or else you'll look like Matt Osborne.
Yeah.
Yep.
Breaking up a funeral to bitch about the landlord. All right. Well, thank you, Joseph. Illuminating as always. And that's it, folks. We're done with this one. I want to thank you again for joining us. And if you like what we're doing here and want to connect with us, you can find us on every major social media and podcast subscription platform by searching up the handle Wrasslin Raw. That's WRASSLINRAW. While you're there, don't forget to click subscribe to get every episode of Wrasslin Raw coming to you every week. Give us a 5-star review and let your friends know about the fastest growing wrestling podcast in the world. Next week on Wrasslin Raw, we're going to take a look at the Raw that aired on July 10th, 1995, with matches featuring Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Matt Hardy, and many more. So, for Joe and Ryan, I'm Jason, and this has been Wrasslin Raw.